All right, welcome to the FeedBak podcast, everybody. My name is Back, and this is a special show. Uh, Something great. Before I introduce who I have on the show today, I want to make a couple announcements. Number one, Hip Hop Bingo returns on Monday, March 8th. We're celebrating dynamic duos, hip hop dynamic duos like, Method Man, Redman, EPMD, Gangstar, UGK, Outkast, Mobb Deep. List goes on and on. So if you're not familiar with Hip Hop Bingo, it's a bingo game online. We should do it in person, but COVID shit. And instead of numbers, we have artists. We have 4 rounds of bingo, 4 challenges like trivia, dance battle, finish the rhyme, guess the picture, and we'll be giving away prizes from black-owned businesses only, like we've been doing for the past couple of years. So make sure you get your tickets at hiphopbingo.live, not .com, .live. Get your tickets, only $5. Monday, March 8th. That's PSA number one. PSA number two. Do me a favor and go to iTunes, leave a rating, leave a comment or review. 5 stars. I like 5 stars. 5 stars are always good. But be honest. Actually, no, don't be honest. Just put 5 stars and we'll be all right. I won't be mad at you. It's anonymous anyway. So, but without further ado, let me introduce my guests. We got Espi Rivadeneira in the building, well, virtually in the building, live from New York City. How you doing, girl?
Hey, I'm good. A little tired, but I'm doing good.
Yeah, I mean, you had me waking up at 8 o'clock on a Saturday to
I know.
record
I
this.
was like, why did I pick this time? I should have picked something way later. But I'm doing good.
Good, good, good. So, comedian, of course, like I said, I've been focusing on comedians this year. Really exciting. We've had a lot of people on already, and I wanted to talk to you because I got to see you recently. Because I mean, you moved to New York. How long ago did you move?
Last February.
Last February. So how's it? Whoa, right before COVID.
Yeah.
Good timing there.
I know.
How,
I know, but I think it worked out for me actually.
really? How so?
Because like you've been to New York before, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Or no. Well,
Not
it's
not
like
perform, but I've been to shows in New York. Yeah.
yeah, so it's like you have those big comedy clubs where people, get past and move up through. And so when I came here, everything was like established already. And I think anytime you move anywhere, you're like at the bottom again, like
Right.
you're a new comic. Um, and then in March, I like just got here. In March, everything shuts down, and I'm like, oh no. And so what happened though was like because everything did shut down, um, some comics like brought this speaker out to this park, Washington Square Park, and they started doing open mics like that outside. And I was like, oh, I can do that. So I was like, I think I was probably the second person to start doing that. And then like, I don't know, New Yorkers are just so resilient. Everyone's just started bringing speakers outside and
Yeah.
like, and we've been doing that through the winter too. And then like a new comedy club opened up, the Tiny Cupboard, and we were doing Zoom shows and stuff. And they asked me if I wanted to bring my Zoom show to the rooftop in Brooklyn. And it like, I feel like mostly everyone knows me now and stuff. So I'm like, I kind of made a name for myself by getting here during COVID and like, buying a speaker and bringing it out and doing mics and shows and stuff.
You're the speaker girl. But
Yeah.
did someone actually like you didn't? Did you know anybody up there?
So I didn't know any comics when I moved here, but then I was kind of, it worked. I was going out every day, like hitting 3, 4 mics
Hmm.
right when I got here. And then I met, so I was starting to get to know them. And then one of them told me about like, oh, there's Zoom comedy if you want to do that. So I was doing that. And then through the Zoom comics, I found out about my 2 friends that were like bringing the speaker to the park. So then I would go to that. They were doing that every day. So I
Hmm.
started doing that. And then I got my own speaker. And there were 2 mics then. And then more people started doing it and everything. Yeah.
Wow. So when did you start? Like I met you. I think I met you last year.
Yeah.
When did you start?
Stand up in general, three
Yeah,
years ago.
3 years ago. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So did you just get up and move to New York? You're like, oh, this Austin shit is not gonna last.
I didn't think so. it feels like it's changing because I just visited Austin for
Right,
like a week.
right.
It is changing. I am a New Yorker though, like I'm from upstate and I've always wanted to live in the city.
Hmm.
So it feels like the right move still. I'm like, they're very resilient. Austin's still changing and growing and stuff, but I love New Yorkers. I love like the bad attitude, like the like I love the toughness of it. Like that's what my parents are from Brooklyn and stuff. So it's like I just missed the East Coast too. Like I'm so happy to be here. And visiting Austin, I realized that too. I was like, oh, New York is like definitely the city for me.
Yeah, I mean the energy in New York is that I love it. I don't know about living there. Like I know my sister lived there for 2 or 3 years in Harlem, and
Yeah.
it is rough. But what I love the most about New York is the energy. Like you're walking down the street and you hear like different cultures, different languages.
Yeah.
It's all, there's always something happening. That's what I love. Like I grew up near Paris, and when you go to Paris, it's the same shit. You could be walking around at 2 in the morning, and then there's shit going on.
Yeah.
People dancing on the docks like at 1 a.m. dancing tango, and you're like, yeah, that will never happen in Austin. As cool as
No.
Austin is, it's like nah, and the diversity too. That's why I love New York City. Every time I go, it's an adventure. Every time I go to
Yeah.
New York.
That's the same reason I love it too. Like my neighborhood's so diverse, but you can go to like, and it's a huge city. Like there's the five boroughs, but then it's like within each one, there's like you can get off at a different subway stop, and it's kind of like a different world. And I'm like, that's so cool. So I feel like I haven't even explored the whole thing. And it's like I've been to New York City plenty of times growing
Mhm.
up, but I'm still like, oh, there's so much to it. And I like I was talking to some comics the other day here about it. I feel like because it is such a tough city, too, there's something about like the stand up, I think, is tougher because it's so cold and you like go out in the cold and you do stand up. You have to take like the dirty subway and like there's so many comics that it's so competitive and there's so many like just intensely like hilarious people. I still think like we have the best comics right now. I know a lot of comics from LA are moving into Austin and stuff, but like the people here are just so funny and you're like, oh man, I gotta do something. Like, like you can't like relax there. You gotta like just keep working.
Yeah, you gotta grind. Like, did you know? How would you get into it in the first place?
Stand up.
Yeah.
Um, I moved to Austin like I guess it was like 7 years ago or whatever. I lived there for like 5 years. Because my parents actually moved down there because they're kind of like tired of New York and
You want
they're older.
quiet?
Yeah, they were like, this is because I asked them, I was like, would you ever move back? My dad was like, maybe Manhattan if he was like rich or something. He's like, but it's just like too much most of the time. But yeah, so they moved. So I got into Austin and I always loved like comedy, like improv or stand up. I started doing improv first at Hideout Theater in Austin. And
Oh,
then I
cool.
kind
Wow.
of yeah, I got to this point where like I wanted to perform every night, but then with improv, you kind of rely on other people for like your improv troupe, and like people couldn't do it, or I just wanted more. And someone was like, "Oh, you should do stand up," and so I started doing stand up at Volstead. Yeah,
That was the mic. That was the
yeah.
mic. I've been there a few times. But did you have some like a comic that you're like, oh yeah, I want to be like her, or like him?
I don't want to be like him, but I remember Seinfeld was always like my favorite. We watched him growing up, and I remember my dad watched a lot of comedy.
Mhm.
Like I just remember watching a lot of stand up when I was a kid, like Patton Oswalt and Kevin James and Seinfeld. I remember they were on a lot. And I remember being young, being like, I could do that. And my dad was like, no, it's so hard. Like he knew how he was like, because sometimes people don't understand how difficult it is. And he was like, it's so hard. They've said that stuff 1,000 times.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to do it, but I never like I was just scared for a while. And then after doing improv, I was like, I'm gonna try. And even the first time I did it, it was awful, but I was just like, I feel like I can do this. So I've just kept at it.
Do you remember your jokes the first time?
Yeah, it was bad. It was
Oh,
like,
I gotta hear it now. Well, where was it? Was it here in Austin?
yeah, it was at Volstead Lounge. That was my
Oh,
first mic, and which is cool because then I ended up taking over that mic and stuff. But uh, the bit was about I went to Ecuador at some point, like a few years ago in college, and I was on a bus with these other students, and we like went to this restaurant. And our tour guide was like, "Don't eat the fish here," and I like was an alcoholic at the time, and I ate the fish. And basically, the bit was like, we had to stop on the side of the road. This is a true story. We had to like stop at
hmm.
this random house in Ecuador, and I like ruined their toilet. Um, and then like ran back to the bus.
What do
It's
you mean
not
you ruined
funny
the
now, and
toilet?
it wasn't funny.
Hold on. What do you mean you ruined the toilet?
I had like so much diarrhea, I like broke the toilet.
Oh,
And
oh. Now you know what? I asked. I asked.
yeah, you
That's
did
why.
ask. I was
Okay.
trying to protect you, but yeah. So, but it wasn't. But the thing, like, I could probably make it funny now, but it was just so bad. I was like shaking, even though I had done improv. Like stand up's different because you're just up there by yourself, and like comics don't laugh at stuff, and I was just so nervous. And I wasn't even up there my full time. I was just like shaking. I got off early.
Uh-huh.
But it's such an adrenaline rush. I was like, oh, I have to do that again. I have to like figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy. I was so last night I went to two mics here. And went to the first one. There were maybe it's getting competitive now here because
It,
there's a mic every day now. And but more importantly, it's like they're at the same some of them are at the same time. So if there's a new one that opens, everybody goes there, and then the list is like 25 long, but it's 50
yeah.
comics show up, right? But meanwhile, there was another mic that missed that's maybe further away and nobody shows up. So I went to one last night at Shenanigans. I don't know if you're familiar, but anyway, I show up and there were four comics on the list, including myself.
Yeah.
And one of those like neighborhood bars with a bunch of pool tables. People come here to play pool and eat nachos. Like they don't give a shit about
Yeah.
comedy. And I went up like the first guy that went up did 25 minutes.
Oh my God.
They didn't even give a shit. Like the host, the and I knew the guy, and the host like he lit him up at like I don't know 10, but he kept going for another 15, and he
It's
didn't he
too
didn't care.
long. It's too long for an open mic. You can't. That's
Technically, it
too
was.
much.
Yeah, technically it was, but it was like I don't give a fuck. I was probably getting paid anywhere anyway. It was, and then another guy went up. I did 10. I'd never done 10 before.
Yeah.
I did 10 minutes,
Yeah.
and I talked to this dude I in the bathroom, and he goes, "Yeah, he was in the audience. There was maybe like five people paying attention, but not really." And I'm talking to him, and he goes, "Well, I've been here before, and oh my god, it is horrible. Some of these people like are bad." And he's like, "Yeah, there was this one guy who was obnoxious as fuck, and it's not polished." And I'm like, "Dude, you don't understand how this shit works, do you? Like, you're not gonna get polished comedy at an open mic. This is how it works. You just have to get up there and just do it."
Right.
And it's like, "Oh well, I was expecting." I'm like, "Don't expect anything. A
No, if it's
Hoboken."
not a show, you can't.
Exactly.
Yeah,
It's,
hope it
it's
could
not a
walk in.
showcase. Yeah, they know the difference between open mic and a showcase, I guess.
But the thing about those, and I think it's like awesome because I'm like, I got so much stage time in Austin, but I think it's like having shorter mics is beneficial because it's like, okay, I have to try and squeeze in as many laughs as I can.
Right.
Um, but yeah, because there have been times where like, I noticed that happen in Austin a lot where there would be a mic like that people didn't go to, and it's like you would get 10 minutes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, I don't think that's good because it's like you can I think too, I don't know, just running an open mic and stuff. It's like you kind of want to keep it moving. And like if you're a good host, you can keep it fun. That's because I don't know, here I've seen so many hosts that like they keep it so fun. And like, even if it is an open mic, they'll like come back and reset the room. Um, I don't know. It really pushes it though. But yeah, I don't know. We usually do like, so I remembered in Austin, sets were like 3-4 minutes usually, which
Yeah.
I think every time length is good for whatever. Or if you get 10 minutes too, it's like you can work on a longer story or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like here we usually get 5. And
Oh, that's
then,
good.
yeah, I like it though, because you kind of can chunk stuff well. And yeah.
Are you have you met anybody up there? Like, big comics? Are you trying to get to the city?
Yeah. Um, Mateo Lane did my
Yeah. Very
show a
funny.
few times. Yeah.
That really
And
is funny.
yeah, I love him. And Ronnie Chang did my show, which was amazing. I wasn't sure if he was gonna come. And I met Roy Wood Jr. in Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like other names that aren't that aren't as big, but still, like work in comics. I'm trying to think. I feel like I've met so many. It was funny. So I was doing that mic in the park,
Mm-hmm.
my friend's mic, and there's this guy and this girl that are sitting there, and like I didn't know the lady, but they were telling me, they're like, oh, she's a seller comic. And the guy, I had no idea because he had like a mask and glasses on.
Mm-hmm.
And I did my set and then I just left and they were like flipping out. They're like, oh, it was Louis C.K. And I was like, why did no one tell me to like stay? Like, because
That
he
was
was
Louis
giving
C.K.?
people, yeah, he was giving people like tips after. And there were like 6 of us. And it was so funny because that open mic, it used to be like 6 to 10 people. And then after that, like 40 comics showed up. Like, I think they were hoping he would come back. I was like, you idiots. Like, he's not going to just come back. But if you walk down McDougal Street is where like the Cellar is and the other
The Village
comedy
Underground.
clubs. Yeah.
I'd like
So
Pussycat.
you,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's like there's a lot of big names that still hang out there that you can see just like chilling. Like Hassan Minaj, I saw walking in the street. I didn't get to talk to him, but it's like you get to see these big people around. Like they're just out and about.
Did anybody like when you first get started? Well, actually, when you first start getting getting some traction, is there any like politics to it? Like, competing
I think
mics, competing showcases, and people like, oh, we'll never book you, and that kind of
not
stuff.
as much because Austin can kind of be like that
Yes, it
actually,
is.
where
I've heard
it's kind of
stories.
toxic. And I never liked that. And I thought, so I moved to New York and I came into the scene very tough. I was like, I don't want anyone to mess with me. But then it was like everyone was so nice, like genuinely, which was weird. I was like, what? And then I haven't really seen that, to be honest. Like, which is funny because you would have expected like more competition, but I think it's like people might be more secure in themselves, or I don't know. I think like I'm sure there is some of that, but
Hmm.
I just haven't seen it so far. And the scene is so big. I think like too, there's not time for it because there are so many mics here and we start during the day. And people are always doing something like after this, like a couple friends, like comics are coming over to do a sketch, but then we have like a mic in the park at 4 or whatever. And then like you have shows after that, but we'll do mics during the day. I'm just like, I think it's like too busy for that negative, like anything kind of toxic like that. It's like people don't have time for it,
Hmm.
which is good.
Yeah, hell yeah. But here it is like, and it's not new, but it's
No,
it's getting to a point where, I mean, from what I heard, and it sucks because you're like, look, we're all in the same boat here. I know it's competitive, and you'll get bumped, and uh some people will just show up with all the comics that come out here from Chicago, from LA, from New York. But
See, getting bumped is not cool either. Like, I noticed people here really keep it like, it's like, okay, this is a bucket, or,
mhm.
I don't feel like people get bumped like that. It feels more fair overall. Even if you're like, even big comics that like, there's this comic who's passed to the cellar. He came to my open mic, uh, Nico White, I think his last name is, but he came by and he was just like, he just wanted to be treated like any other comic, And I'm like, oh, but he's been doing it for so long and whatever. But I was like, that's cool. Like, people are more humble about it. But yeah, the toxicity in Austin was part of why I was like, I'm gonna leave, because I don't like that, and I don't like how. But I think too, there is a difference in the South where people are more passive aggressive, and then people in New York, I have gone off on comics here and they like respect me, like, I think if you do that down south, people don't like that, where they're like, wow, she's being aggressive. But in New York, it's normal. Because I like,
Yes,
some comics have been like, not even like dicks, but they're just like annoying. I'm like, what is your problem? And then we're still like friends after, it's like, oh yeah, that's just how she communicates. It's like more direct. And so I think there's that too, where people don't like I feel like if you're gonna talk shit here, people are like, well, go tell him what you just said. Like, go tell, it's like
like
very
yeah, be
direct. Like,
real. Exactly.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
it's absolutely true, and I think it's a mentality thing. You're right. It's a mentality thing. New York people are more straight, more direct, don't give a fuck, and the idea of busting balls, I think, came from there.
it did. Yeah, for
I'm sure it came
sure.
from there. Like when you have like millions of people in this tiny island, and
Yeah,
stack on top of each other, and you're
yeah.
cold together, you're hot together, you're gonna talk some shit. And if you can't take it, you're not meant. I don't think you're meant to do it. If you can't take a joke, or you're too thin skinned, I'm like, look, this is harsh. This
It
this
is.
this is harsh. But down here, um, and it's even in terms of the audience too. Like depending on the material you're trying to do, I'm sure I've seen like New York comics, come down here and perform in front of an Austin audience, and it's not the same vibe.
No,
Some of the jokes, if you can do, I mean, abortion jokes or rape jokes or whatever, it won't. It's not the same.
because sometimes the intensity. I'm glad, like, I've been in Austin and then did New York, because sometimes it's like, in New York, you can be really aggressive and it's fine. But then in Austin, it's like, you got to scale it back a little bit. You can't be like as intense, because they're like, whoa, we're just having a nice day. Like, we don't want to be, yeah, because the Southerners are very different. But
And it's
yeah,
Austin. It's PC. It's liberal. It's all those things. So don't
yeah, you
don't
can't
don't
say
joke
as
about
much.
this and that. Yeah, like I have a joke about my my son being a school shooter, becoming a school shooter
Yeah,
with style, and I'm like, I've done it. Of course, I've done it in front of comics, and I got laughs. And when I did it in front of people, they're like, "Hey," I'm like, "God, really?" I think it's hilarious. But I
I
grew
still think you should do it.
I'm keeping it. Fuck that. I'm keeping it. I don't
Yeah,
care. But because like I grew up with um listening to New York comics the whole time. Like I
yeah,
used to watch, and I said this on the show before, but I used to watch Tough Crowd. Tough Crowd was my reference.
right,
The
right.
Chris O'Neill, the Jim Norton, Rich Voss, Robert Kelly, all those guys. Boston and New York comics were like my shit. And so I'm
Yeah.
I'm used to that, and that's the kind of humor I kind of cultivated for myself. And even in person, that's how I am. And but for some people, it's still kind of, and I'm like, no,
But I
man,
like, but even if you are direct like that, it's funny because I was watching that Patrice O'Neill documentary
yeah,
on Comedy
dope.
Central. So dope. And it's like how he was with his friends and stuff. The thing is, like, you can roast your friend. Like, I feel like I have more genuine friends here. Like, I have met some of the best people and I think they all kind of watch out for you, because it's like, it is such a tough city. So then, and it's like crime is going up in New York and stuff too. So everyone's like, oh, let me know when you get home and stuff. I just never had that in Austin. And it's like, we can be really rough on each other and roast each other and stuff. But I'm like, I feel like New Yorkers can come off as cold, but I'm like, but they're very loving and direct. It's like they just don't have time for any bullshit, you know? Because I feel like that, like me and my buddy were talking about the documentary, and he was like, it reminds me, like, he's like, when you see them younger, he's like, that reminds me of us, like, hustling and going from mic to mic in New York. And like, it's just different. Like, I just like it here. I like that. I just love the intensity of it. Some days it's exhausting. Like, you come home exhausted, but yeah, I love it here.
Do you live in a city?
I live in Queens. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. Did you, as far as I'm trying to remember your set that I that I saw at Shakespeare's, but I'm forgetting. Um, but you, I forget, do you do controversial type of material?
Yeah. My stuff can be pretty dark.
Yeah, I remember it being dark, but I don't remember specific bits. I don't want to give anything away. But like, do you feel like you're getting a whole lot more done in terms of writing now that you're up there?
Yeah, I am, because I can feel like I'm like from here too. I know I didn't live in the city as a kid, but I'm like, I do have that mentality just because my parents are from Brooklyn. So
Hmm.
you can like hear the city going crazy right now. Um,
What is that? That's New
it's
York.
sirens and stuff. That's New York.
Dude, when I would talk to my sister and be like, "What's going on?" I said, "Oh no, the cops outside. Somebody got shot down the block." I'm like,
Yeah,
"Yeah,
yeah.
just kidding.
It's
Just
just
fucking
normal.
kidding."
You're just like, at first you're like horrified when you move here, and then you're like we were all joking, like somebody jumped on the tracks a couple of weeks ago, and we're like, couldn't they have killed themselves another way? Like, we're trying to get from another part of the city.
Exactly,
Like,
exactly. Like,
everyone's like mad.
how long does it take for someone to go, "Oh, that," and they start looking at their watch like, "Motherfucker, it doesn't take 3 minutes to get a body off a track. Come on
Yeah,
now,
yeah,
I need
yeah.
to
We're
get
like,
to
come on,
work.
just
It's some
move it.
bullshit."
Yeah, yeah. Like, everyone's just mad. No, what was I saying? No, yeah, my stuff is dark. Um, but I've gotten more confident too. I feel
Yeah,
very
definitely,
confident on stage. So
definitely.
I'm like way looser. I think it's like being in my home state and then feeling like you can go darker here. And it's like, that's hard to do in Austin. I think it can be done, obviously, but like, um, yeah, I love here you can say whatever. So it's like I've built confidence because I'm like, oh, people aren't going to judge me for this joke, you know?
You do some crowd work as well.
Yeah, my crowd work's gotten a lot better. I think it's just part of like getting comfortable on
Yeah.
stage, and then like just every set I try to do a little bit. But I realized it was just funny because I did a set last night. I did this show, and this girl after was like, she was like, did you plan like on, I just like riffed on her and her boyfriend a little bit.
Hmm.
And I was like, no, I just kind of look at how you guys seem, like how y'all are feeling, and I'll joke about that. Like, if you look happy, I'm like, oh, it must be nice to be in a good relationship or whatever. Like, or if they look mad, I'm like, oh, you know, I'll kind of just talk about whatever. But it's gotten way easier. I think it's part of that too, is just being more comfortable.
Definitely, man. I'm trying to do that more. I'm trying to get more flexible with my jokes because the issue I had even back then when I met you was that I felt too scripted to
Yeah.
where I wanted to get to my jokes, but I didn't really take in any of the audience's vibe, I guess. Like there was no pauses. I was just like, I just got to get to it because when
Yeah.
I write full on paragraphs, and then I just dissect it and cut it up and move things around. But in my head, I'm like, I know some of the words I want to hit, but if it felt so much like a script, and now I've gotten to, well, I'm still working on it, but it's gotten better to where I can be I can be distracted by something or by something in the audience or something I said, and then that makes me go left.
Yeah.
And so it's the process, and I enjoy the shit out of it. It's a lot of fun. But going back to New York, I need to get this fucking mouse and rat thing under control. Seriously, I was there. I was there last February actually
Oh
for
yeah, the rats.
dude.
Yeah.
It's we rented. So my brother got married in New York. The day before, no, right after Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And at first, we were like, dude, who the fuck gets married in New York the day before Valentine's Day?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, in February, like that makes it's cold as fuck. It's horrible.
Yeah. It's bad.
And and COVID hit a few weeks later. So I was like, man, you must have known something that we didn't know, because
Yeah. Yeah.
and so we rented an Airbnb on the Upper East Side.
Ugh, yeah.
Exactly, and it's all of us. It's my entire family, and it was cheap. It was well located, and then we walk in there, and I kid you not, it's one of those, like, I don't know how they build apartments, but it feels like, okay, they have this much space, and then they just cut it up in different rooms. So you end up with like
Yeah.
a bunch of small rooms. The dude had a little basement that he turned into a couple other rooms downstairs. And we walk in, there's no TV. We walk in, and first thing we see is me, my dad, and my sister. We see a mouse just running down the steps.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, oh, so this shit is real. I mean, I know you saw it on the street, but you're like, I didn't know it was that big of a problem where it's
It's so
literally
bad.
everywhere. My dad, in in great African fashion, took his shoe off and flunked his shoe at the mouse and hit it first hit.
Wow.
First
That's
hit.
crazy.
I'm like, you're as African. You're an African motherfucker. That was dope. And then we kept seeing them just pop out of nowhere. We had like, the people who like pest control, whatever comes through, like, look,
Yeah.
we can't do shit.
That's terrible. Yeah. They're like, yeah, they take over. They're all over the subways. Like, my apartment's good. I remembered I was pissed because I live in like a nice neighborhood in Queens. And so they're telling me, like, when I moved in here, they're like, yeah, there's no roaches. And I like move in, there's roaches. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me right now? Like, I was so pissed. And then I realized too, because I do try to keep it really clean and everything. And I'm like, where the hell are they coming from? And I went to take out my trash, and there's like this chute everybody puts their trash into. And there's just like, they're all living in there. And it's like across from my door. And I was so pissed. I feel like,
They're living where?
yeah.
In the shoe?
No, it's a chute, like a trash chute.
Oh,
They were living in
Oh,
where
my
you
bad.
like dump the, yeah. So they're all just like living in there, and the super like didn't care for a while until I like freaked out. I was like, this is unacceptable. Like, I just went nuts and was like calling like the people that own this place, and I just wouldn't leave them alone. I was just like swearing at people in good New York fashion. Then finally it got cleared up, but it's like, it's such a, because then one of my friends came over, and she lives in Harlem, and she was like, yeah, it's New York. There's going to be roaches everywhere. And I was like, no, like, not this apartment, not here. I hated that. I was like, it's so gross, but it's been under control. But then I'm like, in the spring, they'll probably come back. So,
Yeah, my sister had one at her apartment. She named him Jerry because he stayed for so long.
oh my God.
She
So
had a mouse
gross.
just running around like, oh, there goes Jerry, but to the fridge right there.
Yeah. No, I've seen mice. I've seen it all. Not in the. I haven't seen rodents in the apartment. Knock on wood. But you see them out all over the place.
Do you get to do any? I mean, do you go around and like just hang out in New York, or that's all you're doing? Are you even working?
So I'm on unemployment. I was a substitute teacher here. I got in,
Mhm.
and then I got COVID as a
Hey.
sub. So then I qualified for unemployment, and yeah. So I've just been collecting unemployment and doing stand up. And I'm like, I don't even want to go back to the Department of Education. Like, I could like reapply and do all that and like get back in. But I'm just like, some of my friends were like, we're too far in. Like, we have to just do stand up. So I think, like, if anything, maybe I would teach kids how to do like art, or teach them Spanish or something, like tutor someone's
Mhm.
kid in Manhattan or something. But I'm like, I really don't want to work.
I
Yeah.
don't want to work. Hey, that sounds about right as a comic. It's like you got to dive in all the way, or it's just not gonna happen. When
Yeah, you have to.
when I the first open mic I ever did was, I don't know, like 8 years ago, something like that.
Yeah.
And I went up with John Stringer. I don't know if you know who John Stringer is.
I don't know him.
Oh, well, he headlines all over, pretty much the Southwest,
Yeah.
uh, well over the country now, actually. But anyway, and it was our first time, and he kept going, and now that's where it's at. And I'm like, I have a job. So,
I know you have to kind of, because I quit my job in Texas, like, because I was teaching full time.
mhm.
And I remember my family being like, yeah, you can do comedy and do, but I was like, I don't get it. You can't like, because I would be so exhausted. I'd go into work, I would have to be there by 7 and then all day. And it was like, as I was doing stand up more, I was like, I don't care about teaching. Like, I just don't. And I was like, it was just funny because my principal, uh, I just started to just like not care. And then I went in to resign and he was like, and everyone's always like, oh, you know, don't tell anyone at school that you're a comedian or whatever. And I go in to resign and he's like, but why? Like, he's like, we really want you to stay, like, and finish out the year. And I was like, I was like, I don't know why. I just told him, I was like, yeah, I'm a comedian. And he was like, oh, go do that. Like, he was such a cool, and I kind of
Oh,
needed
wow.
that at that time because my parents were like, yeah, he prevented me because you can get like penalized and not be able to teach anywhere for like a year if you quit mid. But he got me to not get penalized because he was like, yeah, if that's your dream, then like go chase your dream. Because then I wouldn't have been able to get the job in New York if I had gotten penalized. So it all
Right.
worked out. And if I hadn't gotten the job here, I wouldn't have gotten unemployment. So it's like everything worked out. But
My
and I
goal is
needed
to
it
get
too.
unemployment. That's
Yeah, but my parents were like not supportive at all at first. And I realized now, I'm like, it was kind of crazy because I just moved out here with no job. I like quit
mhm.
my job in Texas and I was just like, I'm going to New York in a couple of weeks. And they were like, what? Like, they were like, what do you mean? Like, it was just
I'm
so
young. I
crazy to
want.
them.
It's my dream.
Yeah.
I want to.
Yeah.
That's what it is. I mean, I realize that, you know, the more you think about it, the less you're gonna do it if you really want to jump in. Like I met this kid actually at the show I did at the mic I did last night. There was a kid that was sitting there. He was laughing at all my jokes, and at the end of the set, at the end of my set, he came to me and he was like, "Yeah, I just got here from Dallas, and I always wanted to do comedy. I'm thinking about it." I'm like, "Don't fucking think. Don't
Just
think.
do it.
Good, just
Yeah.
do it. That's the only place." And I was last, and even the host was like, "Hey, anybody else want to go up?" I'm like, "Dude, you missed an opportunity. You could have gone up there and done it."
Yeah.
And he ended up coming to the next mic, and he did 4 minutes,
That's
and
great.
it was actually, on one end, I'm like, man, this is getting, the barrier of entry is so small that anybody off the street can get on the mic and start
Yeah.
talking shit and crack jokes or just talk, right? And so it is going to get to a point where like everybody's a comic, just like everybody has
Yeah.
a podcast now. Everybody's a
Yeah. But
comic.
not everyone's a comic because you can say that, but it's like there are people that don't. Because I haven't even been in it that long. I've been in it like 3 years, but I've seen people quit, or I've seen
Mhm.
comics that say they're comics go up, but like I remembered I was watching Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee with
Mhm.
Seinfeld, and I think you always worry a little bit about your competition and stuff, and like and then you're like, oh, this person has this or they have the connections. But like Seinfeld was saying, like the comedy ecosystem always cleans itself. Like in
Oh,
front
yes,
of
it
a
is.
crowd, you can't deny like who's funny because it's like how many laughs somebody gets. And I was like, that's so true. Like I feel like comedy is pretty fair, to be honest. I mean, in Austin, I didn't really feel like that with opportunity at the time when I was there. I felt like there were very funny people that weren't getting opportunities. But in New York, I'm like, it feels very fair where it's like if you're funny, you get booked, there's like no questions asked. You see who's working. But yeah, I don't think of everyone as a comic that's just like does stand up. I know it sounds weird, but it's like,
No, it makes sense. It makes sense.
yeah,
But it really opens up the field. I mean, I'm sure that, with COVID and people are like, oh, I'm gonna pick up something else. I'm just saying, like, the barrier of entry is very small at this point. And
yeah, it is for sure.
I really do think that comedy is bigger than ever now.
Yeah,
Just like you had, I mean, I've said this many times, Rogan is here now. So it's like everybody, it's like, oh shit, I can do what he does. Maybe not on this level just yet, but if I grind, if I work, if I show up, if I get on stage, and
yeah.
it could happen. It could happen for me. And so it's one of those things, especially in times of crisis like we just had. Actually, we still have. People look for a way to escape and to laugh. I mean, we've had a shitty year, um,
Yeah.
and this one is not starting so well either.
No,
So at
it's not
all,
going
at
that great.
all. And so you're like, well, what's left? And comedy shows are now like booked, and people will come out. And if you're not into, if you get to a point where you're not into, I just want to go to a bar and drink, you're like, okay, I can do that and still get some laughs in. So a lot of shows get a lot of people showing up, which is great.
Yeah, that is good.
What I forgot what I was going to ask. So outside of that, do you go around New York? Do you visit, or what do you do for
I'm
fun,
like,
SP?
I hate when people ask that. I
don't
get
say
all
don't
nervous. I'm
say
like,
comedy.
what do I do?
Yeah, like
I'm like, oh
what
man, it's
else?
like, I'm like, what else is there? I really don't. I'm trying to think. I mean, I'll hang out. It's always with I feel like my best friends are comics that live here.
Mhm.
What do we do? I've gone around to other boroughs and stuff. I really like, yeah, I do love like exploring. I mean, especially, so it is usually like if I'm going to a new open mic or something, I like checking out that part of town because it's like somewhere I haven't seen. I like, since I've moved here, I'm like, oh, I know New York so well now and how to get
Mhm.
around and everything. Um, I like that. I like going to just different boroughs. What do I do for fun? You put me on the spot here.
I know.
I just
Okay,
do comedy.
come on now. There's more to people to you, and I think than what you do. I think, but okay. Well, are you dating out there? Are you dating comics since you're hanging out with them?
No, I'm like, because I went through a breakup when I moved here, so I'm kind of like taking a lot of time for myself, which is good. I mean, it's like you want to, at some point I want to date, but then I'm like, I moved out here for stand up. Like, I'm just trying to grind right now. And it's like it's not this, obviously it's not the same, but I'm like, our friend group is so good
Mm-hmm.
that, and none of us are dating. Uh so it's like the people I went to Austin with, um, those are like my best friends. So I feel like we'll be like, okay, what are we doing today? We got to write. And it's very competitive getting into open mics too. So we're kind of like, sign up for this mic at this time. You have to like pre-sign up. So we're just kind of like helping each other out right now. And I don't know,
Do,
I hang out with those guys a lot. So it's like
do
just
you
working.
do you write with them, or do you run your shit by them?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes we'll just sit quietly and like write. And then we try to help each other, like, oh, that would be a good tag, or what, we'll listen to each other's sets, or it's like, oh, you should have said that slower, or like,
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that is very helpful. And I feel like they're all very talented and hard, but I really like, especially this year, well, when I got here, I was like, I don't want any bullshit, so I feel like the people I'm surrounding myself with, I'm like, I just want winners. And I see like these guys that are working really hard, and I was like, oh, okay, I want to be around that, like just like constant grinding. And I feel like people really look up to me. They're like, oh, you're always working.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'm just trying to surround myself with that. Like, I'm nice to everybody, but I'm like, the people I hang out with, I'm like, oh, this person's very talented and the way they work. I like that. So I'm trying to just stay around that and then go see, like shows with big comics on it. I think for fun, sometimes I'll go watch a comedy show. It's still kind of working though. But I'm like, I want to see like, because there's a big difference between someone who's done it for only a couple of years to like 10 plus,
Yeah,
they
of
just have,
course. Yeah.
yeah. So always trying to watch comedy. I'll go running. I like running. Uh,
I like to eat.
I like, yeah. Like,
I like
I
to eat
sleep
food.
sometimes. Like, yeah.
The drinks are good.
Well, I do paint. Um, but that's not really for fun. I just like I sell paintings sometimes.
Oh yeah, I mean yeah, I think you gotta have you don't have to, but something else because I'm sure it can get overwhelming as much as you love it and as hard as it is because yeah, it is a grind. You got to hit like 4 mics a day, and like I'm not even doing. I might hit maybe like 5 a week, but I have responsibilities and all that. I'm a dad now,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
yeah, but uh like no Tinder, Bumble. You haven't tried any of those things just for the fuck of it?
No, not interested. I people will be like, you should get on there. And I'm like, no, I'm like doing stand up right now.
Dude, I did. I joined recently.
Yeah.
It is fucking weird.
That's the thing too, is I'm like, I know pretty quickly if I'm gonna like someone or not.
Uh huh.
So it feels like a huge waste of my time. Like in Austin, I was doing that a little bit and I would meet up with someone and be like, oh, this is immediately no, like I'm not gonna want to date this person. And it's
Hmm.
like, I don't want to waste their time. I'd be like, well, I gotta go. You know what I mean? Like, I just hate, I don't like the apps. And I do think like eventually I feel like I would have to date a comic too. Cause then they understand like the grind and like
That's
and
true.
going out. Yeah.
There's some famous comic couples. Bonnie and Rich, uh, Tom and Christina. There's a few. There's a few out there, but like I just it was weird to me because I don't like the concept of a date is weird to me because we don't we,
Yeah.
don't- we don't have that in France where I grew up. It doesn't exist. Like the whole idea of okay, I'm gonna ask you out and I'm gonna come pick you up and I'm gonna open the
Yeah.
door
It's
and now
weird.
we're gonna go eat and we're gonna go to the movies and I'm gonna stretch and put my arm behind your back. I'm like, no, we don't do that shit. So to be on an app and just shopping for humans left and right, it's
I hate it.
dude, and the part that I really don't like is all these girls on there have the same it's the same shit that they write.
Yeah.
It's the same shit.
Yeah.
I'm into hiking and brunch and
Yeah.
wine
And
and
tacos.
coffee
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
tacos. I'm a
Yeah.
dog mom and I like hiking and the outdoors. I'm like, bitch, can you have something stand out?
Yeah, I don't like it for that reason. I think dating is weird too because it's like there's this weird expectation. You meet this stranger and it's like, oh, we might be a couple. And I'm like, whenever I meet someone, it's like a clean slate. And I feel like in the past, I've ended up just like dating a friend, which doesn't always work out for the best, but it's like I'd rather like get to know someone without any like expectations, I hate dates too. I'm like, it's so weird. And like and I used the dating apps before. And I'm like, the only good thing that came out of the dating apps is I met one of my best friends. We were both just like, oh, we're just friends, we just like felt like there
Mhm.
wasn't any connection. But I talk to that guy like every day, but I'm like, I've never met anyone on the dating apps that I really liked or anything.
But even just going without expectation is a hard thing to do because
Yeah.
it's really like when I try to explain that to my friends back in France, and they go, so you meet up and then you there's all these things you're quote unquote supposed to do because you're putting your best, what's the word? Um, you're basically interviewing for a job, so you're putting your best foot forward. Whatever
Yeah.
you're presenting to that other person is not necessarily real. Not necessarily. It's actually most of the time
Yeah.
fake, and you're just posing, and you're not exposing it any of the flaws you have. If you're an asshole, you're not going to be an asshole on a date, and everything you fucking do is open to interpretation.
That dude, exactly. When you were just saying right now, if you're an asshole, that's the thing too. Is like I don't like that. I don't like when someone's a douche or whatever. So I'm like, I really want to see someone like because it's like if you're on a date, obviously, like I want to get laid. So it's like you're gonna be nice, you know?
Yeah.
So it's like but I'm like, I want to see that person around other people. Like, how do you treat other people? Who are your
Mhm.
friends? You know, but it's like on a date, it's just you and that I'm probably never gonna I don't think I'm ever gonna use a dating app again. I just won't. I'm like, I'm grinding. I'm like, whatever. I kind of keep saying too, like, as I've gone through like my move here and like been working things, I'm like, whatever. Like, I feel like the universe is like helping me get through my life. I'm like, whenever I'm ready for it, you know, like the right person will come and I'll figure it out. You know, I really believe that. So I'm just like, I'm not, sometimes I'll be bummed out about it and I'm like, oh, I do want to find my person. But then it's like, I think it'll
Comedy.
be all right. Yeah, comedy just always comes first and it has to.
Yeah, it does. The universe speaks to you directly. I wish,
Yeah. Yeah.
I wish I had that power. Fuck.
Well, not directly. Sometimes I'm like, what's happening? But it's been working out so far.
No, it is weird. I mean, and now that I have a kid, a 3-year-old, and he's in my jokes. I talk about him
Yeah.
in my jokes. And I'm like, yeah, one of these days. I mean, I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, I'm doing this. I enjoy the shit out of it, and I don't know what'll come out of it, but whatever. But he doesn't understand shit right now. But when he does,
Right.
and it's weird when I've always wondered what it's like when you're doing material about your own family or about your friends and how they live it, especially if
Yeah.
they're not comics.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you talk about your family and your shit?
I have, and it got easier because, like I said, my parents are from New York, but they moved to Austin. And just, I think over time, you just get more confident. But moving to New York, I got more confident. And like, I think I've talked more about my family here. I've gotten much more like, all of my jokes are much more honest now. It's like things that happen in my life.
Hmm.
But I remember like my mom had seen my stand up in Austin and she was like, I don't talk like that, you know? And like, I'm like, Mom, it's just a joke. Like I exaggerate things, you know? And uh, but I feel a lot more free here now because I'm like, they're not going to see my stand up for a while. And I don't know. I think sometimes people can get annoyed, but I'm like, if it's funny, you got to say it.
If it's funny, that's all it comes down to.
Yeah.
Patrice had a rest in peace. Had uh, not a theory. I think the idea that a funny joke and an unfunny joke come from the same place,
Yeah.
but you never know until it hits or doesn't hit
Yeah.
until it comes out. You never know. But so you're never you can't knock someone's attempt at being funny. It can totally
No, you
bomb.
can't.
You can't. And so how do you navigate like social media world? Do you
So I've been trying to like up my social media game because I feel like not that people didn't, people in Austin cared, but in New York, they're like, you got to post every day.
yeah.
And it's a pain. Like, I don't really like looking at other people's stuff because I don't like feeling like I get like, you know, it's competitive and you're like, how they got on this show and I did it. And it's like, I try not to really look at other people's social media, but I do try to post something every day or get content out or like a photo. And I've noticed like my Instagram following's gone way up. And then Twitter, I'm doing pretty well. But it's like you got to post every day. And then, you know, but it's like it can be exhausting too, all of that stuff. I
Do
don't
you
really use Facebook anymore. I feel like it's like
I
mostly
don't either.
Instagram.
I don't
Yeah.
either. I just do Instagram. I get on Twitter just to follow whatever
Yeah.
whatever's trending or whatever the hell. But um, to me, it's even Instagram. I don't think I'm that active on it because I have other stuff. I mean, I have this podcast. I got the hip hop bingo thing. I feel like I'm juggling 25 different things,
Yeah.
but it's like it's one of those things. Like you go, I mean, you're young. You're 23.
I'm 27.
Whatever. Just take the compliment.
Thanks.
Whatever. It's like anything. It's the when you're young, it's you can take those chances, and as you get older, you're like, oh fuck yeah, now I have shit to do, and I have 20. Everybody has 24 hours in a day, and you're like, how do you feel that? You have a day job, you have a kid, you have a wife, you have a
Yeah.
husband, you have a dog, you volunteer for shit, you have comedy, you work on your own little project, and you end up having to juggling all that, and you like your priorities shift pretty much every day. And
Right.
so, and on top of that, you're asked to post on social media and do stories on Instagram. And I totally understand why that now has turned into a full-time job. You can hire somebody like, okay, well, you take over my shit
Yeah.
and you post for me. But what's weird is like, and I brought this up with other comics. I want your take on it. Um, the idea that like everybody is trying to be funny on the internet. You get on
Mhm.
Twitter and even on Instagram, everybody's looking for that one witty comment or witty
Yeah.
reply that's gonna get a bunch of likes, no matter if it's funny or not. It's just, and I again, like I said, I'm not gonna knock the attempt at being funny, but you go to YouTube and you read the comments, that's all people trying to be funny.
Yeah. They're just trying to be funny. Yeah.
You're just trying to be funny, and you're like, this person could be boring as fuck, in person. Chances are they are, but they all want that line. Like if I forgot what it was. Oh yeah, Daft Punk just split last week or
Oh,
something.
wow.
Oh, you
Yeah.
didn't know that?
I didn't know.
Oh
I've
man,
just been writing these jokes.
you gotta get on Twitter, girl.
I know. I
This
know.
made national news. This made Daft Punk after like 23 years split. Nobody knew what they looked like, but they just split, right? And then everybody was tweeting the joke. Fuck, what's this song? What's it Daft Punk song? That stronger, better. Anyway, there was this
Faster. Yeah.
one pun about one of their songs. Oh, tonight we're gonna get lucky. That one song.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're like, oh well, maybe we're just not so lucky. Maybe it didn't turn out to be so lucky. Some shit like that. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
saw I saw hundreds of tweets of a variation of that joke, and I'm uh, like, do something different. Like it's so how do you like how do you what's your feeling about that?
So I think like lately with one of my comic friends, we'll take like 2 days out of the week to read the news and try to write jokes about it. But I don't think it's great to try and like, because then it's like, oh, Trump does something. Everybody's trying to write a Trump joke. I'm like, I think it's more authentic to just write about your life and like how you feel about things. Because like a lot of my set, all of my set is like, I mean, I've done some of the jokes about the news I've like put on stage. Because you got to see if it works or whatever. But I'm like, that's more for working the muscle,
Mhm.
just to see like, and then hopefully one day get a job as a writer or something. But like, I think it's better just to write about your life, especially starting out. I think I read that too in the Comedy Bible.
Oh, what?
Um,
Comedy
and you
Bible?
know the Comedy Bible by Judy
No,
Carter.
no.
Oh, it's this book. It's pretty famous, and it's like kind of how to do stand up. There's like tips and stuff. But I remember one of the things she said was like, you know, if you're not known yet, just write about yourself. Like, write about, because people want to know who you are and what you're experiencing.
Right.
But I'm like, I think that's, yeah.
Comedy
No,
Bible.
yeah, you should do that. Yeah,
How long ago did it come out?
it's
It's
like
been out.
old.
Oh, okay.
You should. It's a really good read.
Oh, okay. But
Yeah.
I forgot what I was going to say. Yeah, I mean you're right because people don't know you. You want to introduce and there's a hot topic. I heard a good Kanye West joke the other night. Not Kanye West. Who just crashed his car? Tiger Woods.
Tiger. Yeah.
Tiger. Yeah, I heard a good Tiger Woods joke, and I'm like, yeah, but that's not one of those jokes that you can do for a year.
You can't. That's the other thing is that like because me and my buddy we were writing political jokes every day, and it's like first of all that's sad, and then second of all I'm like, are these jokes aren't going to hold up? Like
Yeah,
we can try and do this, and it's like it is a good muscle to work, but I'm like I want to work on my material and like because I'm like this can if you write something that resonates with someone that can last for years.
that's true. That is true. That's why I'm trying to. I'm sticking to my son as a school shooter joke.
Yeah, yeah, as you should.
And it does get old because you'll watch even like specials, which I mean they come out. There's so many that come out now, whether it's on YouTube or on Netflix or wherever. But it's like, okay, you going how many Trump jokes can you get? And sometimes
Yeah,
it's so current, then really you're all you're doing is telling what happened, and there's not necessarily a twist to it. You like that? Can you believe this happened? Type of joke, and you like
especially with something like him. I didn't even try writing jokes about Trump because I was like, he's so funny on his own. He does such
exactly.
crazy
It's
stuff. So it's
yeah,
like, it's not worth it.
no, it's really not. It's really not. Um, but yeah, man, it's step your Twitter game up. Find out about
I
Tiger.
know I should. I got
No,
to
it it
follow.
it it, it, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I think like I did last night. I talked a little bit about the snowpocalypse. So like everybody's talked about it.
Yeah.
Were you here for that, or you already gone?
I literally, it was like the first day it hit. That was the day I was leaving. And we were scared our flight was going to get canceled that day, but we made it out like right before.
Oh, you got lucky.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got lucky. And I so last night I talked about it for the first time, and I didn't really write anything. I just had like a few ideas. I wanted to shoot the shit, like my finger right here. So
Yeah.
right there.
Ha ha. Yeah.
My
Yeah.
my, my, my left middle finger got infected like right when it hit,
Oh my God.
and it doubled in size, and I was in pain for 5 days. I couldn't get like prescription or whatever, so I had a whole
That's horrible.
yeah, it was bad. It was bad. Like it ended up draining. It was gross. Good thing it was in the
Ew.
shower.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I had a whole thing about, yeah, we've all learned about, you know not take things for granted, like electricity, water, blah blah blah, and the government sucks and blah blah. I learned that I needed this finger more than I thought. I never take this finger for
Yeah.
granted ever again. And I even did a telemedicine with a doctor, and the whole time I had my finger up on the screen like this, like, look, it's double in size. It's it's,
It's so
it's
funny.
gross. But anyway,
It's
I,
really
I thought
funny.
I'd try it out, and just for the hell of it, and it went okay. Like, I'm not mad at it, but yeah, you want to get, it's like doing a podcast. If you're doing a podcast about current events, people are not going to go back and listen to it. You want to do evergreen
No,
material. So like this interview, for example, hopefully 10 years from now, people will go back, yeah, SP is
yeah,
now, on SNL or whatever. And
I better be.
is that what you're trying to do? You're trying to be a writer at some point? You
I
thinking about that?
now I'm like thinking about it because I'm like I think that's where money is and stuff. But I just keep in my brain. My biggest thing is like, man, how tight would that be to like fill out Madison Square Garden or something? Because I'm like, I feel like such a comic. I'm like, I just want to do shows and be able to travel and do stand up. Like that's my main goal. But
Hmm.
now I'm like writing sketches with some of my friends and stuff, and I like doing sketches too. So I'm like, I could do either, like whatever's comedy related or acting or art stuff. I'm like, I'll do all that. Um, but I don't want a real job. A real job.
Yeah, I don't see you at a desk.
No, I can't. I can't even sit still that long. Yeah, I'm like rolling around in this chair. Like,
Hi, how may I help you? Nah, I'm not. I don't belong here. Fuck that. I'm out.
yeah, I'm like, no thanks.
I'm out. I can't do that. Like I know eventually. Like I've always wanted to entertain in some shape or fashion since I was a little kid. Like doing. I used to perform sketches from French comics like at recess when I was 11 years old.
Oh wow.
Like I would do the whole character and everything, and and listening to comics and really um watching them, um but more importantly, I'm at a point where I'm like, I will watch comics and I just get inspired just by watching them.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
I've gone to shows, and in the middle of the show I'll walk out, I go to the bathroom just to take some notes on my phone because I don't want to do it
Yeah.
in front of the comic. And so I know at that's where I guess the universe is speaking to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I'm entertaining some shape of, I mean, between the events that I put on, you know, actually voice acting would be very interesting to me. I think
Yeah, for sure.
that would be dope if for a cartoon or some shit like that. That would be a lot of fun. But yeah, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I do think the writing is where it's at. I think that's where it started. People have, I like in the Patrice O'Neill documentary. Colin Quinn was like, I never seen him with a paper. He'd just go up
Yeah.
there
They have
and
different ways of doing it.
yeah, definitely. And there's not really a formula, but like the process itself is really a puzzle where you're trying to figure out, okay, if I deliver this way, and I put
Right.
my inflection on this word, and I make this gesture when I say it, and I move left on stage, or I hold the mic like this, or I change this tense or whatever, and you're trying to find the joke that no matter who's in front of you is gonna kill.
Yeah.
It's like a musician trying to get to the ultimate note or the ultimate melody or the ultimate riff or whatever. You're looking for that, and it's very hard to attain. And the very few that have been able to do it, you know, now they don't have anything to prove. Like, okay, well, you're Dave Chappelle now. If you bomb, who cares? You're fucking Dave Chappelle.
Right.
You know,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
if you get to that level, like people were mad at you saw the Chris Rock
Yeah.
special, the extended cut one of
Yeah.
Tambourine.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like, okay,
Yeah.
it's dope. I mean, I saw it the first time it came out, and then people were like, "Oh, well, it's the same shit." And I'm like, "Do you think Chris Rock has anything to prove at this point?"
He doesn't. No, he doesn't care.
It's fucking Chris Rock. Like, you don't. He's up there already. His place is like, what's the word? Man, my English is fucking up. That's what happens when I do podcast in the morning, SP.
Sorry.
No, but he's like solidified in comedy history at this point. Like, there's no question. If you go to a Chris Rock show and then you walk out and you're like, this was not funny, you're like, well, you missed it.
Yeah.
You just don't
Yeah.
get it
Yeah.
at this point. You got nothing. You just
For
go to
sure.
opera, go to the movies, catch COVID, stay home, whatever.
Yeah.
But this is not for you. That it sucks. So well, actually, speaking, how was COVID for you?
Oh, it was bad, but I had it for like a month,
Damn.
and I was very tired, and it was like I had weird symptoms and stuff. But then, knock on wood, because I got it at like the beginning, because I moved here and then everything shut down and I got COVID, and I was like, oh my God, my life is falling apart. And then when I had COVID, I was just doing Zoom shows and stuff. But yeah, it was pretty bad. But then I came out of it, and not that I don't care, like I do care. I always wear a mask and whatever, but I'm just sort of like, some comics are so careful, like they won't do mics and shows and stuff. I'm like, I'm gonna do all this. I'm gonna do everything.
Trust
And
me, if my baby mama knew that I was going out to shows and open mics, I hope she never listens to this. God damn it.
yeah, yeah,
I would get in trouble. But it's one of those things. Like, you don't know how long this is gonna last. Nobody has a really solution. We're
for
probably
sure.
last to get the vaccine anyway.
Yeah,
So fuck it. I think people are over it. I mean, I don't. So is it still? So there are shows going on in New York, despite there's no lockdown, curfew, or anything
there
like
have always been shows. That's what people don't understand in Austin. They're like, oh, everything's locked down. I'm like, there's so much to do in New York, and there has been. It's like, and now Cuomo it's open. Yeah, restaurants and stuff are open to like 35% capacity or
that.
whatever. Um, but people always found a way. Like we would use different venues. Like we had one place we were just like, oh, this is a church gathering, where we literally had like a podium and pews set up, and like we're doing comedy there for a while. Uh, so there have always been shows and mics happening. I get mad when people are like, New York's dying. I'm like, New York is very
No,
much
no,
alive.
it's not. It's not. I mean, if you come out of 9/11, I think you'll be okay.
Exactly. That's the thing. I'm like, this place is like a cockroach. It doesn't, it's just like keeps coming back.
It'll never die. It'll be the last thing on earth, but New Yorkers
Yeah, it
will always
will.
be there. Yeah, cemented. Thank you, Colin. That's what I was looking for. Solidified. What the fuck, back? God damn. I saw who did a special on YouTube recently. Oh, Sam Morril. He
Yeah.
did a whole
Oh,
rooftop thing.
I've met him. Yeah,
Oh, you
yeah.
met him? Cool
Yeah.
dude.
He's a cool dude. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I really liked his rooftop special he put out on YouTube. So if maybe that's my dope shit, I don't know, but yeah, that's really nice. You find ways to do it. You do parking lots, like Bert
Yeah.
Kreischer, who sells out like 400 car parking lots around the country.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's fucking Bert Kreischer. That's what he does. Or you get on rooftops or something. But comedy will always find a way. Always.
For
I mean,
sure.
it's a grind, but I love it. I love it.
It is a grind.
Uh, Trying to think what else I wanted to talk about. I don't know. I'm just shooting the shit here.
Hell yeah.
No, but this is fun. This is fun. Do you have your own podcast too, or have you been on
No,
that before?
I'm just doing stand up. Just
Everything I
writing,
ask, you can
just
just say.
sitting
So,
here.
did you watch the new Your Honor show? No, I just do stand up.
No, I don't. People are always like, "Oh, did you see this TV show?" I'm like, "No, we're either watching specials or nothing at all." Like,
Man, you live and
I don't
breathe it.
know.
God damn,
I do.
you're
Yeah, I
deep.
really do.
You
Yeah.
are deep. I wonder what it will take for you to like get your head out and just for a moment, just to catch air and be like, oh yeah, there's a world going around.
I don't know. People have told me for years, so like, you're gonna get burnt out, but I'm like, I haven't gotten burnt out. I don't really take breaks. Like, I think if I really need to, I'll take like one day off. But then on that day, I'm like, what do I do? People are like, just relax. I'm like,
I
what am I
can't do that.
supposed to do on my
Comedy?
day off?
Where's the
Yeah. I'm like,
comedy?
yeah, yeah. I'm like, where's the mic at?
Well, do you geek out over it? Like when you I mean, funny is funny, but when you're around a lot of comedy, or you watch a lot of it, you kind of it's not just funny is the baseline, right?
Yeah.
But then from there you go, okay, you start analyzing a lot of it and analyzing, okay, where's the tag, where's the callback, where's the punchline, oh, he took a
Yeah.
break here. It's like being a DJ and you go see other DJs play, and you're beyond the music at this point. You're just analyzing the other DJ set, like the
Well, that's the
selection,
problem.
patches.
Yeah. That can be, I have had times where I got exhausted, like over the summer, and I was carrying, I'm not, you know me, I'm like not a big person, but I was like carrying the speaker around like 4 days a week.
Mhm.
And then I'm hitting all these mics while lugging a speaker through like Queens, Manhattan, Brooklyn. And I was like analyzing everybody's set and everything. And there came a point where it felt like, do you play an instrument or anything?
No, I could play Enter Sandman on the guitar and Mario on piano. So no.
Yeah, well, so I used to play piano, and sometimes like if you practice too much, you start to just like lose rhythm, like if you're thinking about it too hard. So I felt like that happened to me a little bit over the summer, where I'm like, I was doing way too much comedy, and it started to be like my jokes. I'm like, what do I write about anymore? Like open mics, like, so that was when I was like, I have to like take a step back,
Mhm.
and kind of relax a little bit and maybe do only 3 mics today. You know what I mean? Like, so there is, I think at some point you have to ease back, or like try to just enjoy your friends' sets and stuff, and not, or else if you analyze like that all the time, it's very frustrating, I think.
No, it really is, and I've become such a snob about it that
Right.
even when I go see like big headliners, I saw Fahim Anwar recently. He moved here
Yeah.
actually. Yeah, and I've seen his stuff on TV before, and I'm watching him, and he had this one joke about what if you're the first to finish at an orgy? What do you do afterwards? And
Yeah.
he had like a solid 7 minutes of that, and I laughed my ass off. And then the rest of the stuff, I was so into how he delivered it, like what were the things he was doing on stage that I some of the jokes just went over my head. And
Right.
then and even as a comedian, when you go to open mics and you know you're performing in front of the same motherfuckers you see every day, and it is the same jokes that you hear over and over again because they're working it out. That's how
Yeah.
it works. And then maybe you laugh the first time, but not the second or the third or the fourth. At that point, you're like, okay, I've heard this. Unless it's changed a little bit, I'll laugh. But you're so into the 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 process and the analysis that you lose it a little bit. You see what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And
Oh, I felt that. Yeah, yeah.
and you don't have that gut laugh anymore.
Yeah,
You see what I
yeah.
mean? And that's
Yeah.
what it's about. Like that something can be really funny, but you don't have that. Oh my god, what the hell? Oh, trash can.
Sounds like New York over No, I think it has to be fun. I think because over the summer I got to that point where I was just like doing so much stand up and I was like really trying to get to every mic and show and meet everyone, and like it was getting really obsessive. And I I was like, the reason why you do this, because it was starting to not be fun. I was like, you started doing this because it's fun, you know? So I was like, I just want to have fun with it. Like when I write during the day too, I try to have fun, and I'm like, my writing is like, I do have to write stuff down, but I kind of like talk to myself a lot, and like, I'll say it different ways. It feels like I'm doing improv by myself, kind of. Um, but I'm like, that's so fun for me, just being kind of stupid and like, or even like, I feel like my friends, they're like very naturally funny people too. So I'm like, we'll just be like joking around, and one of us says something stupid, and we're like, oh, write that down, and you know, so it's like now I really try to be. I'm like, I am a comic, but I'm like, I always want to have fun. I'm like, at the end of the day, like that's the goal. Because and then the audience can see, like, if you're not having fun, if you're like rigid up there and you're like, I have to
Yeah,
hit this tag, they don't like that.
yeah,
They
that's
know you're
true.
not having fun.
You can tell when someone is not having fun. Someone's not being authentic either,
Yeah,
and they're just on stage delivering joke after joke, but it doesn't have there's no connection with the audience because at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
for
That's
sure.
why people do, crowd work or they riffle or if a joke doesn't work, sometimes the response to your own joke as you deliver it is funnier than the joke itself,
Yeah, yeah,
and that
yeah,
happens a lot. But it's really about how comfortable you can be up there, and
yeah,
it appears and it sounds and it looks just seamless, effortless, I guess
for
is the
sure.
right word. Man,
Yeah.
I have a problem finding my words this morning. God damn it. All good, all good. All right, we're gonna wrap it up. We almost, I don't know, maybe an hour or something. What's your dope shit you want to share?
um, so then I just realized I'm like, I do like other stuff. So this is it's
You
like a book
do.
of poems.
Oh
Yeah.
my god, SP has hobbies
I
besides
have,
comedy,
so
has a
I was
life.
like, oh, I like reading. But so it's kind of for me. So this book in particular, it's like very feminine. It's like a book of poems. Um,
Milk,
but I
milk
really,
and honey.
yeah, Milk and Honey. But it's like very famous book, and it's sort of like it's very feminine. And since I've moved to New York, because I think a lot of people they're like they'll be like they'll see me and they're like, oh, you're such a badass, or like you're a tomboy. But like lately, this past year, I'm like, I'm trying to be, there's like something very funny about sort of dressing more feminine on stage and having like a feminine side with my tough ass side, you know what I mean? And I think like that's been very funny for people, because I think like as a comic, it's like there's so many men in the scene, and that can
Yeah,
be like toxic in itself. And for a while in Austin, when I was doing comedy, I was like, oh, I have to seem like one of the dudes or I have to be a certain way. And then I realized like, no, there's like two parts to me. Like I am a woman and, you know, I am like a tough person, but I'm like, it's so important to have to like, you know, just embrace your full self as a person. So I
Mm-hmm.
think like, I really love, this is like one of my favorite books and it's about being very feeling and, um, I brought a lot more of that out on stage, like just very being more emotional and being more real and like, and it's sort of funny too. Like there's something about my size and like one of my friends was like, you kind of look dainty when you get on stage, but then you start talking and your voice is like not what people expect because you're small. So they kind of think like it's going to be higher pitched.
Mm-hmm.
There's like sort of two sides to my stand up, I think, that I'm trying to play with more. But I think, yeah, in Austin, I was starting to just like, I was like, oh, I can't be very feminine or whatever. But then moving here, I'm like, oh, I can and I should be. And like, I think this book in particular, throughout my life, I think I read it a couple of years ago. And it's just like helped me out a lot. Yeah.
You feel it feels true. You feel like you're being true to yourself, you know, by being more,
Yeah, for sure.
more
Because I
girly.
am a girl. Yeah, yeah.
You're a girl. Espi's a girl,
Yeah,
ladies and gentlemen.
yeah.
In case you haven't noticed, because her voice, you can't really tell sometimes.
Yeah, you can't tell. You're like, hey, what is going on up there? But that's the thing is that I think for a while I was like pushing that down, especially just because it's like there'll be like 20 dudes at a mic and just me. But then now I was like, oh, that's what sets me apart from these other people is like I am a female and it's like I have like a different perspective. So now I'm not trying to like shove that away. I'm like, just be yourself up there. And it's been much more genuine.
So you're wearing heels now?
Yeah. No one, yeah,
Really?
you guys have never seen me in heels.
No,
Yes, I am.
no, I have
Yeah, yeah.
not.
Everyone's like,
I
yeah, well,
always
now I
see
look like
you.
trash because I woke up early. Yeah, early for me. But no, I have been, which is funny. Even the
Uh,
comics here, because I came into the scene like baseball cap, whatever, and then I like
yeah.
changed my style and they were like, whoa, you know, but they were like, it is really funny, especially for a crowd who doesn't know you, because you go up like looking very like classy, right? And then you get up and you're like, ah, like just like complaining or being like emotional and um dark. I don't think people expect the darkness from me at first, but it's been fun.
Yeah, I gotta see you in heels. That sounds
Yeah, I know
creepy. It
everyone.
sounds creepy as
Yeah.
fuck, but I
No,
gotta, I
I know.
gotta.
No, it does sound creepy, but I understand why. Because I remember people were like, oh, you just don't wear heels. And I was like, yeah. And then I've been wearing them here. I wore them like yesterday. But yeah,
I'll see you
heels
like
are
just
back.
drag your speaker in the subway in heels.
I have like an extra pair of shoes ready.
Aha.
Yeah, I'm smart about it.
Good,
Yeah.
good, good. So the book is Milk and Honey by what's the author's name again?
R- Rupee Kaur.
Rupi Kaur. All right. Dope. So my dope shit of the week. There's a song. I heard it. I listened to this it's not really it's a mixed show, like a DJ show. It's a podcast really. Called Dancehall Station. I'm big on dancehall and Jamaican music since I was a little kid. And and I've been looking, it's been sucking lately. Dancehall's been, I don't know if are you familiar with
Yeah,
dancehall at all?
I didn't know it. No,
So like, you know what Sean Paul, Beanie Man, what those guys do.
I know that. Yeah.
Okay, okay. But it's been sucking lately because one, a lot of I grew up with, you know, the Bounty Killer, the Beanie Man, Capleton, all those guys, and now they're
Yeah.
getting older. So there's a new generation coming up, and they all sound alike. It's kind of like hip hop to me.
Yeah.
They all sound alike, and they all kind of sing. They do the auto tune shit, and it gets old because even the rhythms. All right, I will do dancehall 101 really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way dancehall works is that there are producers in Jamaica who come out with a beat. They call it a rhythm, RIDDIM. And on that rhythm, a bunch of artists, actually the artists are called DJs, and they come out and they do a song on the rhythm. So when they release the rhythm as a vinyl, it's a bunch of songs on the same beat by different artists, right?
Yeah.
That's why No Letting Go sounds like Get Busy. Sean Paul's Get Busy
Oh, okay.
is the
Yeah,
same
yeah.
beat. Or oh that song Lumity. So
Yeah.
just I'm giving you references like I think people would
Yeah,
people would
yeah,
notice. So, but anyway, and they all the rhythms lately for the past maybe 10 years have all sounded too R&B ish and too like it's the same kind of tone. It's not that hard hitting kind of dancehall that they used to do. And I've been looking for a song that like that takes me back to that's not that's different really. And so there's a song by Spraga Benz and Wayne Wonder, who are OGs in the dancehall game. Spraga Benz had a song with Lil Kim. Wayne Wonder is No Letting Go. The song called Rotated. It came out like a few months ago, and I heard that on this dancehall station mix podcast, I guess. And
yeah.
it's been on in the loop for the past week. Let's see if we can play it. Colin, can you play it? Share your sound. We just won't play it on YouTube. Yeah, there you go. Go ahead. Are you sharing your sound?
Blazing. For sure.
I said I wishing for the downfall of the dancer.
Never that.
Where you wanna
That kind of beat just makes you want to.
Never shot.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
You don't dance, do you? You do comedy.
No.
You don't dance.
I don't dance. I don't have time for it. Back.
All right, good stuff. We'll cut that when I put it on YouTube. Man, I you know what? I'm really curious. What is it that's gonna happen that's gonna distract you from comedy just for a little bit? I just want to. Whenever it happens, please let me know. I really want to
I'll
know
let
what
you
it is.
know.
I really want to know. Like, what is it? I mean, hopefully not a boyfriend or a job. We know that's not gonna happen. But like, I don't know. You pick up knitting, or you just for the fuck of it for like 2 weeks, and you realize, nah, this is not for me. Comedy. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah,
know.
yeah.
I just want to know what's gonna happen that takes you away. I just want to know. So at some point. Anyway,
I'll let you know.
where can people find you on social medias, all that good stuff?
My Instagram is at espionage921. If they want to follow my Facebook, I'm not really active on Facebook, but it's Espi Rivadeneira. And that's the same for my Twitter, Espi Rivadeneira. I'm pretty active on Instagram. I post all my shows and I'll like post a bit up here and there. And then Twitter too. It's just like little jokes and stuff. So yeah, that's where they can find me.
You have a website yet?
Well, I have one, but I haven't updated it in like 2 years.
We're not sponsored by Squarespace, so I don't. It doesn't matter.
I think Instagram's where it's at.
Yeah,
so,
it is. Have you tried Clubhouse yet?
Yeah, it's like stressful though. I'm like, oh,
Like,
I don't know. I don't like it.
You tried comedy on there?
No, I didn't do that yet. But I'm just like, one of my friends I was so mad. I was like, another app, like, it's like too much. So I'm not really messing with it right now.
All right. We'll talk about that we'll do like an extra thing after this.
Yeah.
Bonus content type shit. We can talk a little bit about that. But anyway, as always, make sure you follow the FeedBak everywhere on social media. And yeah, I am more active on Instagram as well. I actually changed my logo to my face because people didn't know who the hell was behind the FeedBak for so long. I'm like, yo, that's me.
So
I'm FeedBak. Like, that's how you pronounce my
Yeah.
name, you stupid.
Yeah.
So yeah, follow us. Make sure you on YouTube too. So I put up the episodes on there. I'm a little bit behind, I know, but like I said, I'm juggling 25 things at the same time. So just bear with me. It will be on there. But in the meantime, just subscribe, tell your friends. And again, I'm focusing on comedy, and I'm going through the process myself. I record all my sets, video, and I do a little like feedback on it. Just give myself some. Some criticism, and I'm going to be posting those as well. So thank you so much for tuning in, SP. Thank you.
For sure. Thank you for having me.
Good luck to you in New York. I'll holler at you when I come up there, or if I come up there. No favors. No favors. No favors. Put me at the bottom. I don't give a fuck. It just, I'm happy for you. I'm glad that you found your shit, but it's going to happen. The universe is going to say something different at some point, and you're going to pop out.
Yeah.
Even if it's just for a day. I just want to see it or know what it is. All right. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll talk to you next time. Ciao, ciao.